Thank you very much. It's great to be in Swainsboro and Emmanuel County, and I appreciate all y'all for coming out. I'll tell you what we're going to do. My daddy taught me a long time ago, you learn more by keeping your mouth shut than your mouth open. And for most politicians, that's good advice. So I'm going to talk for just a couple of minutes. Now I want to hear from you. I want you to ask the questions you'd like to ask me. I want you to talk to me about the issues of the day. Let me know what I can take back to Washington to do and represent you better. Of course, everybody knows that the big issue that's being discussed by everyone is health care reform. And I know there are going to be a lot of questions on that, so at the outset, I want to talk to you about my position on it, as well as seek your suggestion on a number of things. And I know we've got a lot of people from the healthcare industry here today. You know, what's happened, there's been a classic philosophy on healthcare for about 50 years in Washington. It's been a clash between those that wanted to go to a single-payer, more European-type system, or those that wanted to make the private system work. We have one of the best health systems in the world. Our problem is not that we don't have a good health system. Our challenge is that about 14% of our population doesn't have accessible coverage or affordable coverage. 86% of our population does. They're either on Medicare, Medicaid, S-CHIP, an ERISA-covered policy, or a state-generated policy. But 14% don't. Some of them are actually eligible for Medicare or Medicaid and are not enrolled. Some of them choose not to buy it because of economics. And some of them just can't quite get it. And the important challenge for us to do in this business is to make sure we help the 14% who don't have access to affordable insurance to be able to do a better job of getting to it without destroying what 86% of the public already has. And that's the classic debate that's going on in Washington. There's another angle to it, it's the angle of cost. The President's plan has been estimated by the Congressional Budget Office to cost $1.3 trillion. That's a lot of money. It's particularly a lot of money when today's estimate for next year's deficit alone is $1.5 trillion. We can't afford to mortgage our children and our grandchildren's future for a system that's not broken, but a system that needs some repair. And I remain committed to trying to make health care affordable and accessible to everyone without turning it over to a single-payer, government-sponsored plan. And I'm not one of those politicians that folds my arms and just say no. I got a fellow at the back who gave me some good advice and said just vote no, and I've already done that on the President's proposal. But that's not good enough. What you've also got to do is say yes to those things that make sense. What we should do is we should allow the formation of risk pools across state lines. 35% of the American public today buys insurance that's regulated by their state. It's not governed by ERISA. And because of that, their risk pool is limited to the parameters of their state. Affordability and accessibility is not as good. We need to raise the size of those risk pools and make your health insurance portable. So if it's nationwide and not bounded by your state's borders, it's portable and you can take it across state lines. We need to put an end to pre-existing condition, which is one of the biggest negatives about the current system, where I might sign up for insurance in my employment, but my wife, because she had cancer, can't be covered because of a pre-existing condition. Once again, it's a pooling nationally to bring people together that can help to meet that challenge. So we have a challenge. We have some things we need to do, but I've always believed in the private sector, the entrepreneurship of the American people, the ingenuity and the innovation of our scientists, our healers, and our inventors. And I'd rather empower them to help us solve the problem than take over the entire Medicare, Medicaid, healthcare system by the government running. So on that subject, that's where I come from. There's a second subject, and that's our current economy. And I am proud to be at a Chamber of Commerce. I was a Chamber of Commerce chairman 22 years ago in Cobb County, Georgia. There's probably no more important effort that goes on in a community than promoting business and business investment coming to a community. We are in difficult times. In my career in business of 33 years, I went through 4 recessions: 1968, 1974, 1980-81, and 1990-91. They were all bad, but they all ended. And we're always better off for it. This one is equal opportunity. It's hitting everybody. It's hitting our city government, it's hitting our county government, our state and federal government. It's hit manufacturing, it's hit agriculture, it's hit everything. But the answer is not to throw more money at the problem from Washington. Washington needs to unshackle and empower the American workforce and entrepreneurship. Instead of raising people's taxes and lowering their expectations, we need to be giving tax credits to incentivize people to go out and address the problems and it's that we have. That's why in this housing-based recession which we're in, I've introduced the $15,000 credit to anyone who buys and occupies their home as single-family residents. Why? Because we've got to incentivize that market to come back. In America today, 1 out of every 2 houses is underwater. It's worth less than's owed on it. There's no velocity in the housing market unless you're buying a foreclosure or a short sale. Government can't be the solution to that unless it incentivizes the private sector to return to business. So community banks that depend primarily on real estate lending and agricultural lending in your community and in my community have a business that they can loan to, business they can be paid back from. And I spend most of every day working on the economic side of issues because I am a businessman. I believe in small business. I believe in free enterprise. And I believe that's the solution to the future of America's economic challenges. Not more government and not giving away more money. Now lastly, and I'm going to get ready to open the floor for questions in 1 second. I'm going to live up to my promise of shutting my mouth and listening to you. But I want to end with something. Last Thursday night, my daughter delivered my 9th grandchild. His name is Hunter. She told me this is it. She's out of business. She's through. So it's my last grandchild. But you know, when I wake up every morning at the age of 65 and I walk from my condominium on Mass Avenue to the Capitol, I think about one thing. I want in the remaining years that I have left to leave my grandchildren and children with an America as bright, as safe, and as prosperous as the one my parents left for me. I think that's my obligation. I don't want to be the first generation of Americans who left our country worse off than they found it when they were born. We've got some tough challenges, but America is a great country. This place you and I call home and the rest of the world calls America is a very, very special place. We fight for free enterprise, security of our borders, a strong national defense, and empower the private sector. There is nothing America can't do, and America will do whatever it needs to do to remain where it's always been, and that's on top. Now with that said, I want to hear from you and see what's on your mind. There are lots of other issues. I hope I got a few answers. If I don't, I won't make it up, I promise. Yes, ma'am.
On behalf of several retired educators in Manuel County, I would like to ask you why you have never supported the repeal of the WELP and the GPO.
You're going to have to tell me what those acronyms stand for.
The WELP is the windfall elimination provision, and the GPO is a government pension offset.
Well, are you talking about the Social Security?
Right.
Okay. Public educators, municipal and public employees in you correct me if I'm wrong, I think 84 and 85, is that not right?
83.
83, well I was close. They were given the option to opt out of Social Security and remain in their retirement system, correct?